Good evening and welcome to our Canadian Geography Challenge Google Hangout. The purpose of tonight's Hangout is to allow you an opportunity to ask any questions that you have about the challenge. And before we go there, I just wanted to explain who I am and why I'm here. My name is Beth and I'm a teacher in British Columbia, and I've been involved with the challenge since it started in 1995. And it's an incredible opportunity for students to demonstrate their understandings of geography. We're always very pleased to see kids, any student who has a passion, have an opportunity to pursue that passion. We watch students participate in history essay competitions, track and field events, chess clubs, drama presentations, musicals, and we are very proud as the Royal Canadian Geographical Society to support the presentation of the Canadian Geography Challenge. So I have been involved since 1995, and I used to run the challenge in my classroom at a relatively academic school in West Vancouver in British Columbia for 5 years. I also hosted the provincial championship at that point. Over the years, we've moved to an online format, so we have had our provincial and territorial challenges went online. Our national challenge went online in 2002, and we're absolutely thrilled to announce that this year in 2015, through the incredibly generous donation of a sponsor of the program and a fellow of the society, a gold medalist, Alex Trebek, we are able to run the national finals live again in Ottawa. So I want to talk a little bit about how to approach the challenge. If there is anybody listening right now, you can certainly submit your questions and I'll read them and be happy to answer them. The challenge itself is a way for students to engage with geography beyond what's being taught in the classroom. It has an opportunity, it's all taken care of for you. There's limited efforts required on behalf of the school coordinator or the teacher's sponsor, as the case may be. After you sign up on the challenge.ca website, everything can be downloaded, and it works in both official languages, which is incredibly exciting if you're running a dual-track school. You have the capacity to organize a challenge any way you'd like. Some people want to do it in a friendly atmosphere, some want to do it in a competitive atmosphere, some want to have class against class, others want to do it, other teachers want to do it purely for a learning opportunity the first time through, and potentially in the future continue to a learning opportunity the first time and then possibly make it a competitive opportunity the second year, depending on how many years you've been involved. I participated in the challenge over the years from 1995 until last year because I wanted to give the students in our school a chance to pursue their passion. Not everybody loves geography, but you have a handful of students in every school who absolutely want to engage with geography. So the questions come to you and you can download them. And you can determine if you want to set this up as a classroom experience, a school experience, a district experience. For example, in the past, at one school I was at, each social studies classroom from social studies 8, 9, and 10, because the competition is open, level 2 for grades 7 to 10, level 1 is grades 4 to 6. And in the level 2, we had each class run the competition the 2 days before the Christmas holidays. We had a number of students who were absent for just prior to Christmas, and we felt this was an opportunity to continue to provide a learning opportunity that had tremendous integrity and honor the students who were absent at the same time, who were missing core learning outcomes that were being taught and learned. So you can set up the competition. I usually took 2 blocks to do it, so our blocks at that time were 60 minutes in length. And because when you download the package, you'll see the series of questions and you can figure out how much time you'd like to have. There is a score sheet provided for the students to write down their answers. So we would have each class participate, and we had about 7 to 9 classes at that point, and then the teachers would bring the scores together and we'd take the top 20 students and do a semifinal final, and the top student would then write the online school or would become the school champion in that process. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. And your school champion would then participate in the provincial online championship and that would determine who our national finalists were. So one way to do it then is to actually make it a classroom experience. Another way to do it is, which has been very successful in a number of schools, is to have a geography club. This would then be an extracurricular activity. Kids could engage with the learning of geography and then do the challenge, depending on how you wanted to set it up as a teacher. Some people did it as a drop-in moment, not a club at all. They just went on the PA and they said, for the students who want to pursue geography and have some fun, come see Miss Di at lunch on such and such a day, and we will walk you through a process where you can have some fun. Other teachers who are not yet ready to make it competitive have taken the questions from the website after you register, and this year we're thrilled to announce that we've been able to offer the challenge for free due to the sponsorship of Google. So therefore, you can download the questions and you can actually assign the questions to kids and have them work through their iPads or their phones or a computer lab and actually find all the answers to the questions. They can then teach each other aspects of what they've learned, and then you could actually run the challenge afterwards to see how much kids have learned with those specific questions. You may or may not want to have your school champion go on to participate in the provincial final. That's totally up to you. You can adjust the challenge to make it work for your learners, your classroom, and your school and your district. We find, or I have found over the years, the kids who absolutely excel in this are kids who have a tremendous support at home for the passion of learning, current events, passion for reading maps, have always worked with an atlas, love globes. Having said that, it's not just a Capes and Bays exercise where they're answering numerous questions. You know, what is the capital of this? What's the temperature of that? We want the kids to engage in spatial geography and really expand their geographic literacy through this process. So that's our goal when we design the questions. The questions are written by teachers who have participated in the challenge and understand. We've often worked with faculties of education, faculties of geography to design questions that are true to what we're endeavoring to achieve. So I'm just looking at my list of questions that have been provided for me. So we know what the challenge is. It's a chance for kids to have a ton of fun with geography. Why should you participate? One, it's free. That shouldn't be the selling point to begin with. But two, it's another opportunity for kids to have fun through their learning. We don't have lots of Capes and Bays. Obviously, there's always a little bit of that in geography by the nature of the subject area. The work level for the school coordinator is minimal. It's all laid out on the website. The downloads are exceptional. They're very easy to work with. And now you don't even have to wait till you pay to get access to the downloads. Once you register, you can do the downloads right away. Do your students have to have a skill set with Google tools to participate? No, they don't. Anything that we are asking students to do through Google, the instructions will all be provided and it will be very reasonable. We have to be clearly aware that this is a pan-Canadian initiative. Not every school has the same access to internet, and not every school has the same level of skill sets in terms of technology. So we endeavor to make this as user-friendly as possible. Who writes the questions? I spoke to that earlier. So we have university professors who work in the education departments who are keenly aware of the kinds of curricula that are across the country. As each of you knows, Section 92 of the BNA Act dictates that education is a provincial responsibility, and the territories, of course, line up with the different provinces to the south, and therefore we don't look at curricula, provincial curricula, to determine the questions. We create questions that can be approached by any learner. When will we know more about the Provincial Territorial Challenge? Emails are going to be sent out next week with instructions for all Level 2 teachers who entered their school champion into their online account. So it's absolutely critical that you followed the instructions that were presented on the GeoChallenge website. And if you've entered your school champion into the online account, you will then get a chance to hear and receive the instructions for the Provincial Territorial Challenge. Sometimes as we all know, we have challenges with passwords. So at the present time, if you can't retrieve your password, sorry, why can't I retrieve my password email when I click the link? So sometimes the auto-generated passwords wind up going to your spam account, just the way school boards set up emails. So you can contact a challenge@canadiangeographic.ca at any point, and they will reset the information necessary for you to access your site. When are the medals arriving? We're thrilled to have had the medals reinstated. For some years, sadly, we weren't able to offer the medals. They are being mailed out to all school winners during the first 2 weeks of March. So in order for you to receive the medal for your school winners, your school winner, the information had to be into your online account no later than February 28th. Live championship this year, I briefly mentioned that through the incredible sponsorship of Alex Trebek, he has allowed for us to have a live national final. Now, I'm just going to back up a little bit with Alex Trebek's role. When we started the challenge in 1995, we did have a national live final. We had provincial and territorial live finals at that point too. We were able to sustain the national live final until 2002, and then unfortunately due to sponsorship changes, we weren't able to do that anymore. So we moved to an online competition, which was very exciting for a number of students, and the students transitioned to that role very well. Concurrently, Canada has always participated in National Geographic's World Geography Championships. We started in 1995, and we have continued all the way through every second year, and have medaled in every time we've attended, with the exception of 2003. Now, Alex Trebek was the moderator for the National Geographic Worlds, and he also graciously came to Canada to be the moderator for Canada's National Geographic Championship national final, from 1995 to 2002. Mr. Trebek truly understood how kids get an opportunity to see their national capital, to engage with each other, to further their geographic understandings, hence the reason he has selected us to be the recipient of a generous donation to facilitate the national final live. On a side note, National Geographic has chosen to put their World Championships on hiatus right now, and they are reconsidering the format, and we truly hope, because Canada loves to participate in them, that they reinstate them. But if they don't, all processes do have a beginning and an end, and they did start in 1993. We started in 1995 with them, and to go up to 2013 is pretty darn exciting. How are the national competitors chosen? So, because we have the capacity to have a live final this year, our national committee, made up of classroom teachers and employees and support people from Royal Canadian Geographical Society, determined that we would invite 20 students to come to the national capital at the beginning of May. These 20 students have to qualify to be invited. In order to qualify, when they write their provincial or territorial test, the top student in every province and territory, all 13, will have his or her mark examined. If that mark exceeds 50%, they will be invited to represent their province or territory. So, for example, if Alberta, Saskatchewan, PEI, Newfoundland, Nunavut, and Yukon all have students who meet that qualification, those positions would be taken. I believe I listed 7 there. So that would leave 13 other spots open, and those would go to the top students across the country. So you could potentially have 3 students from Ontario, 2 students from BC. It will just be determined upon how the students perform on the provincial test. So every province or territory has the opportunity to send 1 student if they meet the 50% benchmark. If that province or territory student doesn't meet the 50% benchmark, then those places will go to the other students in the other jurisdictions with the top marks. I'm not sure if that was clear. I hope it was. The format of the national championship, we're pretty excited we're very excited about the whole process. We are going to have 3 rounds. Round one will be a formal test situation. It will likely be made up of multiple choice type questions, somewhere between the neighborhood of 75 to 80 questions, and the students will write this test individually on their own. That test mark will not be published at the end of the test. The students will then engage in round two, and round two will be a field study, fieldwork type event where students will take their knowledge of geography and apply it in an outdoor context. Those two exercises will be graded. The mark together, the aggregate mark, will determine the top 5 students of the 20 who will be invited to be on stage at the national final at 1 o'clock at the Canadian Museum of Nature in Ottawa. The other 15 students will make up part of the audience for that event. There will be a Google Plus Hangout for teachers and students who will be competing in the National Championship in April. The National Championship will be taking place on May 4th at 1 p.m. in Ottawa. How can you help your students prepare for the challenge? We want young people who absolutely understand aspects of geography, the 5 themes of geography, application of spatial geography. They do need to know their atlases. They need to understand the sense of where and why. Why is something there and how have we adjusted it? What is the impact of human influences on the landscape and how has the landscape impacted us? Economic geography, physical geography, cultural geography, historical geography. Being conversant with news items that have been significant over the course of the year, reading Maclean's, definitely reading Canadian Geographic. We'd like to have the students ensure that they're aware of that journal as well. Students who excel in this challenge often are knowledgeable in other areas as well, and they have passions in math or science or history, and they draw, because geography brings everything together, they draw on that, that skill set to be successful. And is the challenge linked to your curriculum? I believe I answered that earlier when I suggested that because each province and territory has their own curriculum to work with, we do not and never develop questions based on a specific curricula. We focus on questions that any student who is passionate about geography and has done a lot of learning can be successful with. There are, on the Geography Challenge website, there are samples of previous sets of questions. I would highly recommend that students go through and practice all of those as well. It will give them a sense of the kinds of content that has been asked in the past. So seeing no additional questions, I'm going to thank you for your participation, and we look forward to seeing you register, if you have not already registered, for the Geographic Challenge at geochallenge.ca. So thanks for participating, and goodbye.